Founding fathers definitely knew what they were doing when they said, shall not be infringed. Forget all the misinformation, because this is The Blunt Object, presented by Second Call Defense. Defending you after you defend yourself. This is Lock and Load with Bill Frady.
Let me bring you this from the Trace, the Bloombergian news organization. They purport to be completely unbiased, but, well, they're not. They cite a study coming from the American Journal of Public Health, which I haven't seen one from the Doctors for Responsible Gun Ownership. Maybe we'll find out something from John Edeen later. They said that from a survey of 3,949 adults, a group of public health researchers found that fewer than 1 in 3 respondents supported carrying guns in public places such as college campuses, government buildings, schools, bars, and places of worship. In a summary of the study, the Trace reported that even a majority of gun owners surveyed did not support carrying guns in schools or bars. Here we go. Julie Wolfson, a professor of public health at the University of Michigan and one of the study's co-authors, said, "That's an important finding because it goes against the general trend of what lawmakers are doing." Say this is about national reciprocity. Researchers from Harvard, Northeastern, Johns Hopkins, and Michigan asked people if guns should be carried in 9 public places: restaurants, schools, college campuses, bars, government buildings, sports stadiums, retail stores, service settings, whatever that is, and places of worship. Survey was conducted in 2015 by GFK, a market research company, on behalf of the researchers. I wonder about that. Survey reported oversampled for veterans and gun owners and specifically asked if respondents owned a gun or lived in a house where a firearm was present. Of those surveyed, only 9.4% said they thought guns should be allowed in all 9 public places. More than 30% of respondents said guns should be allowed in restaurants, retail stores, and service settings. Support was higher among gun owners for carrying in public places. Most gun owners said they supported carrying firearms in restaurants, retail stores, and service settings. However, only 1 in 4 approved of carrying guns in bars, and only 1 in 3 thought guns should be allowed in schools. Deborah Azrael of Harvard and Matthew Miller of Northeastern, 2 of the study's co-authors, conducted a similar study in 1999, and when comparing the 2 studies, they found respondents have generally become more accepting of guns in public places. But they did find it difficult to account for the growing support of carrying firearms in public. Azrael said, "It's the $64,000 question. What's happened in the past 15 years? Many more laws have made it possible to carry guns anywhere. More people own handguns than did in the past. It wouldn't surprise me if they also wanted to carry them more places." Okay. Pay no attention to that. I just wanted to throw that out there just to show you that they're still trying the same old stuff. It's always about a minority of people. There's always a minority of people that own all the guns. There's a minority of people that want to carry them all over the place. It's always a minority of people. Except we don't know where they can, I don't know of them giving up their findings and their method to be studied by people who do these kinds of things. If John Lott were to say it, I would be scratching my head, because John Lott is a numbers cruncher. But if Gary Kleck were saying it, Robert Gaius, well, maybe I have to give this a little bit of shift, but I don't know. I need to know their method, or I need to have somebody that knows how to look at the method and say this could be accurate. But there's no indication that was given up. For all I know, this may be the study where the guy said, "I'm never going to give you my method." It's top secret. Top secret. Joined now by Dr. John Edeen of the Doctors for Responsible Gun Ownership. You must have heard me musing out loud about that study.
Absolutely. I was listening to you on my drive home. And so anyway, let's talk about these kind of studies, because I think you need to look at these things with a jaded eye. First of all, the person who funds the study probably has a chance to explain to the study people how they want to slant the study. So how do you slant a study like this? Well, part of it is how you ask the questions. for instance, the question of, do you think people should be able to carry in bars? You can ask it that way, or you could ask that question, do you think people with concealed handgun license should be able to carry in bars if they are not drinking? That's a different question, which will give you a completely different number, won't it?
That's right.
People who are reasonable will say, yeah, if you're not drinking, you should be able to carry in a bar because, a lot of bad things happen at bars or when you're coming out of a bar or in the parking lots of bars. So it would be a reasonable thing for a person who's sober to be able to carry a firearm in a place like that. And many states have laws like that. And guess what? There's not blood in the streets. These people aren't getting drunk and shooting people in bars. So you have to look at not only how the question's asked, but let's look at the history of what's done in other places and how that's worked out. The other thing is, where are they asking these questions? They could be questions of, if they're asking them in Massachusetts, Connecticut, and in, Ann Arbor, Michigan, where there's a big university, you're going to have a liberal bias to the answers. Couple other things. For instance, you're asking gun owners, why don't you ask concealed carry license holders these questions? See how the answers are different. So this is how these biases get put into these papers, and it seems like it's a very reasonable question, but it's not. Again, it's not what they ask; it's what they don't ask. And so that's how you have to look at these papers, and you have to be careful about interpreting their answers based on how they ask the question, because they can ask certain questions to get a certain answer.
Two of the dead giveaways for me is it's coming from the Trace, which is Bloomberg's, and John Hopkins Institute, which, how much money is he giving them? Oh,
he's giving them millions and millions of money. He's got the Bloomberg School of Public Health. To get your name on a school, you have to give millions. And of course, we're the anti-Bloomberg School of Public Health, so we're out there to chop up what they've put out.
Now, will this be something that the DRGO goes ahead? I mean, I know that you guys are always waiting on one of these things to come out. Will this be something that Dr. Wheeler looks at, or or somebody else?
It's probably going to be, if it's anybody, it's going to be Dr. Young or, some of his writers. I don't know what he's planning, whether there's something coming out on this or not. But I'm sure that I will pass it along to him and maybe he can take a look at it. I know that there's been a couple of things that have come out. I think I remember seeing something about them looking at that particular article. So I wouldn't be surprised in the next week or so we see something from DRGO about this very paper. But the problem is getting the data, too, because you also have to see, the problem is they hide how they do the studies. If you can't get your hands on the actual data, it's harder to analyze things. And that's why, John Lott has problems with analyzing some of these things because they won't give him the original data.
Let me ask you a question. With those things, as far as I'm concerned, that question should be asked. And the methodology should have to withstand a peer review before they start publishing it.
It should. But, we can't always trust what things are put out, especially when it's paid for by somebody like Bloomberg, because there's an expectation.
I was just trying to with the march on permitless carry, with the march on, there's more concealed carriers now than ever and all this other stuff. I was just trying to figure out where they went. But, I'm almost certain it's somewhere in some Democratic enclave. And like you said, it wasn't about gun carriers, about gun owners. And there's all kinds of those, aren't there? Right.
And this was done in 2015, too, before this thing has kind of caught a little bit of momentum. The constitutional carry has become more and more popular over the last couple of years in a lot of the legislatures, and so we're trying to get it passed in Texas here too. Unfortunately, it's the not so good of the two bills, but at this point, we'll take what we can get, and then we can always fix it in the next session.
Right.
But still, the bottom line is there's a lot of bias done in these studies, and every one of them you have to take with a grain of salt. And there are a lot of red flags on this one, especially who's funding it and where it's being done out of.
So when at the NRA thing, can you and I'm going to be doing video intros with everybody, and everybody's going to get a chance to knock me out to do the video intro. So do you and Rob want in on one of those?
Absolutely, we'll be there. We'll catch up. We're rooming together, so we'll get you. We'll see you on Friday, and we'll track you down. We'll call you and find out where you're at.
There you are. I'm going to have a lot more time because this time Nugent isn't coming to this one, so I don't have to sit around and start juggling. I won't have that plate up in the air, so I'm going to be doing a lot more running around stuff. So outstanding.
Should I bring my P220?
Please do. I'm going to bring Glockzilla.
Okay.
Although you'll win that contest hands down.
But mine weighs twice as much as yours, so it's going to be a lot smoother to shoot. But you never know. Sometimes Glockzilla will fool you, so we'll see. I'd love to. We'll trade off and we'll shoot each other's guns. How's that?
There you go. That'll work. I like it a lot. Thank you for taking the time to call in. Thanks very much.
Hey, my pleasure. Hey, it's kind of like you make the wish of the genie and the genie shows up. Here I am.
There you go. Rub the bottle. Thank you, sir.
There you go. All right. Take care. See you next week.
Yes, sir. Dr. John Edeen, the Doctors for Responsible Gun Ownership, chipping in with, they are the any of these things that come out of any of these medical journals, this is going to catch their attention. Their eyebrows are going to go up. And the first thing, though, that everybody's going to ask is, can we see the methodology? Can we see the data? What was your, where was your control group? All this other stuff. And I'm almost certain that nobody brought this out. Plus, this is a two-year-old survey, like he said. That's a little that's a little bit of time to wait in publishing. I don't know. And the other thing that makes me believe that most of this is a lie is that there was a slight uptick from the last time they did it, which tells me that, when you're lying, you don't have to, it's hard to keep your data together because you're not really using data. You're just using an agenda. So outstanding. You'll be seeing something from Dr. John and Rob Morris on video, and we're going to do some audio and some other stuff. That's coming up at the NRA annual meeting next week.